what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel, or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, but there's also a PayPal link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, but this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you've not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Arwin, Sleeping Warrior, and maybe Ranty. I think he might have nipped to get a cup of tea. How are you all doing?
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
All is well on our stationary, non-moving flat Earth.
Excellent. Plain Truth's just joined us. How you doing, Plain Truth? Heard you on Morgal
Good
yesterday.
morning. Hello.
Good hearing you on Morgal's chat. Fun. Waited up till God knows what time.
Yeah.
Hey Nathan, what happened yesterday? Where did the hangout go?
That I don't know. I came and sorted it back after I got back from my kids' group, so I rushed straight out after the hangout finished and then saw that there was a problem with it and just sorted it out after.
But is it back on, or?
Yeah, it's there now. It's just devoid of a few views that it probably would have got if I'd have been paying more attention. But yeah, it's still there.
Yeah, it was a big mystery. Was just gone.
We were about to send out condolences cards because we thought you might have been sniped. Taken off Earth straight away.
No,
yeah,
no issues.
It's a straightforward show today. Basically, I spoke with Nathan earlier and I just said perhaps we could consider just doing one show dedicated to topics or a particular topic, in this instance, the sun. And because ultimately we should be able to reference these things back again in future. And if we dedicate shows to specific topics, then we can always just say, look, there's 2 hours where we challenged people to come on and nobody came on. And if you give enough notice, people get to know about it. And ultimately, I think we should be able to challenge these ballers on more than the 3 basic topics in that anything to do with space, the solar system, science, and the discovery of planets and all that nonsense. It's always subject to verification, and we can't verify much at all. Yeah, Nathan, your answer is yes. So ultimately, I said, can we not consider just doing dedicated shows? Let's just dedicate one to the sun, see what happens. And he said, yeah, okay. So really, this show is really about how do we know the distance to the sun? And I've had this before, maybe 18 months ago, and I've not had it since, apart from in the last week or so. And it dawned on me that these things should be nailed down. These things should be there should be a concordance of information, all proving the same one point, the 93 million mile sun. And I just don't think that information's out there. And I've tried looking for information that proves that point. And every time I find any reference or citation for the distance to the sun, it does 2 things. It always seems to reference 1 AU, 1 astronomical unit, which is the average distance from the Earth to the sun.
Yo.
Somebody seems to be screwing with your channel.
Can you guys turn that shit off? Sorry, I'm trying to concentrate.
That would be Jay.
That's off. I'm sorry.
Jay, turn your YouTube page mute when you join the panel.
Oh, it should. Okay, absolutely.
They call you Jay for Jeremy?
No, it's still running. It looks like it. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Mine was mute. Mine's muted.
Yeah, you're back on.
Oops,
I don't even have it up.
Me.
67.
So we've done today's housekeeping.
No, it's still the same show. So we're still no worries. We've still got the same show.
Right, who's got the feedback?
Probably you.
Terrible start though.
Oh, hang on, it might not. It might actually be me. Yes, it is me. Sorry, Jay Farrow. I thought it was you when you joined. It was me.
No, it's okay. That happens.
Have we done today's housekeeping?
No, not yet. Any signs of R? Anybody? Anybody?
No.
No.
Axial rotation?
No.
I didn't unpause early enough, but I put in the chat, a Master B chat, a diagram that a friend of mine put together for the Verrazano Bridge that connects New Jersey to New York, and it's supposedly got two towers that are parallel, or that are vertical, but their tops are an inch and 5/8 divergent, and so that supposedly is evidence of the curve. And he worked out in his math how you can prove the curvature. So I put that in the Master B chat if you guys want to look at that, and maybe if you want to see if it would be worth looking into at a later point. But he's got curvature of R, or he's got proof of R.
I see.
What do you think the chances are that the sun and the moon are the right distance from each other to appear the same size in the same sky?
Just one big cosmic coincidence.
What do you think the chances of the curvature calcs matching up to perspective?
Just a coincidence.
Anyone found any proof of gravity?
No. Nearly there, aren't we? What we got left? Molten, self-perpetuating molten iron core. Anyone? Evidence of that?
No.
No.
not
Pressurized
looking
system
good for
next
him,
to a
is it?
vacuum.
Can't say that we do.
Have you asked about curvature? I missed the curvature one.
No, I was leaving that till last. You take it away.
No, ask the question.
Any signs of curvature?
Yeah. Sly
Oh,
Sparkane
really?
reckons that I've got evidence of curvature in my Isle of Man footage. So I've challenged him to come on and explain it, proving where the curve is, because he's telling his subs on his channel, his 2,000 subs or whatever, that the horizon has risen on the Isle of Man footage. But conveniently, he only showed it in one part of the footage, and he didn't show the part that proves that the horizon did not rise. So all that's happened is that Sly's telling his subs lies, and I'm calling him on it. The horizon didn't rise, Sly. You know it, I know it, and your subs have been deceived by you because you've told them a lie and you've shown them half a truth. You haven't shown them the other half. That's a problem. So, Sly, where are you? We have a little date with disaster, don't we, Sly? Come on the show. Let's see what you've got to say for yourself. This nonsense that you're claiming about curvature. Everybody knows there's no such thing as curve, Sly.
I think the name of this channel should be changed. Not Nathan Oakley, but I mean the name of the debates, and get rid of the debates, because there isn't a debate anymore.
Well,
The debate, 284 debates down the line, and it's over.
the thing is, there's no evidence of curve, axial rotation, gravity. And I agree, there is no debate. However, there are people that are brainwashed and indoctrinated by people like Sly, Reds, Sean Hufford, that still think we live on a little bloody ball. Well, where's the evidence that it's true? So
I may be one of them, unfortunately. One of the brainwashed people. But that's why I told you guys about the test I'm doing, right? I wanted to see if you guys wanted trying to get as much unbiased data from both sides. But I think there's a test we can do it together to maybe find to see if there's a curve.
Yeah, there is.
I want to see what you guys.
There is. Have you got a P900?
Yeah, no, I don't have one. My friend has a Canon. I think it was a Canon.
That's
I
okay.
forget what model it was.
As long as it's got a decent zoom on it, all you got to do is go to the beach, put the camera on the floor, close to the water's level, zoom out to the horizon or zoom in as far as you can go so that you're on maximum zoom, and then reset your position so that the horizon is middle of frame, and then just zoom backwards. If there's a bulge between you and the horizon, the way we're told, the horizon will drop, rise, or fall, and that will be the experimental result you can go and test. If the Earth is flat, there'll be no bulge, and the horizon will stay exactly where it is. Dead straightforward, easy test. We can all do it. Let's see the results.
But wouldn't that bulge then be the horizon?
Exactly. But you're going to be a little bit above the camera, aren't you? Or you can do it from about 3 feet off. You can do it on a tripod. Zoom into the horizon and then zoom back out again. And if once you've set yourself at the horizon, if you zoom out and the horizon changes its position in the frame, then there may well be a bulge. If the horizon stays exactly where it is, then we got a problem.
Well, that's what I'm asking. Is it seems like this thing that acted as a horizon when you zoomed in, that would be the bulge, even if you zoomed further or if you move back.
No, but the problem is it just looks like a bulge. It's an
Well,
optical effect, and
I'm back-
that's why Riley said, put it 1 feet off the sea level, and look at the horizon there. You'll see things like that are almost ground level. So that
Okay.
apparent bulge isn't really a real bulge. So that's the whole point.
Yeah, I know too many people fell for that mistake. Just
what do you
kidding.
mean?
I don't know. I'm very bad at jokes. But so I actually my test. I'm wondering what you guys think of it, or if you've probably heard of it before, where you test the horizon line with the eye level line. Does that sound maybe I should describe it. So basically, you know, the horizon line, they say that the horizon drops as you rise up.
Right.
Notice this, that the test is one that it creates an eye level at some distance that's perpendicular. So first it tests the horizon with a camera that's perpendicular to gravity or the ground. It'll put a line in the middle of the camera and mark where that spot is. And then as you rise up, say with a drone or a building or a mountain, somewhere in the same location, you'll test the horizon again at that level and match it with the eye level line. And supposedly you're supposed to be able to measure the drop, and it should tell you how high you are, or I'm sorry, how much curve there was. So I'm wondering if you guys have seen this test, or if you think it's conclusive enough.
No, not in the slightest. You have a me on. How do you maintain level as you rise?
Well, there's several ways that you can do it. There's a cheap way to do it, but I'll just tell you because I have a bunch of devices that you can do this. You just use something like a gyroscope. So if you had something that was set up so the gyroscope was level, then you measure that, and then when you go back up, you just if it's attached to your camera, whatever's attached to you, you make sure that it's leveled. That's what the phone. I've seen people who use the phone app, and it does because there's a gyroscope in there. But I talked to someone who told me about just like getting a clear plastic tube, and basically you can just level that tube out, and here we go. Yeah, you'll level that tube out, and then you measure that with the horizon, and then you move up, and then you measure the drop of horizon.
Which horizon?
That test, I'd have to look a little bit further.
Which horizon? The true horizon or the apparent horizon?
No, it would be the apparent horizon. Apparently, just because this is gonna be the one you're gonna see, and you can do this with the ocean or with the land.
So
The
how's
apparent
this going to
horizon does
prove
drop.
curvature?
Well, if it was a flat plane, there should be barely or none change in the horizon or the
apparent
level.
horizon? Shouldn't there
Well,
be?
like I said, you can whatever horizon you want to call it, but the thing is there'd
So
be
there
no
should
change.
be no optical effects on the flat Earth, because that's not allowed.
Okay, yeah. Like I said, then they'll stay matched together then.
Really?
Or
Why?
pretty close to it.
So there's no optical
The
effects on
the flat plane
Earth.
and the. What do you mean?
You don't have
There's no
any.
effect. There's no drop. There'd be no drop.
No, but there isn't. It's just an apparent drop. It's an optical effect. That's what
Well,
I
right.
was saying. That's why we call it the apparent horizon, not the actual horizon.
So are you saying that there's an apparent drop as you rise up within a flat plane?
Yeah.
I would
Accounted
argue that.
for
Yeah.
on instrumentation on aeroplanes. There's a line a couple of degrees below the true horizon.
And do you know what the
it's
cause of
well
that,
known.
that apparent drop is?
Yeah, I'd like to know. Especially as you raise altitude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to know.
It
So
migrates.
Let's just say on the day in question that you do your observation, let's just say for argument's sake, the distance that you can the distance you can clearly see is just say 50 miles. If you can't see 50 miles, 51 miles, because that's the visibility on the day, as you gain in elevation, because your limitation is 50 miles that day in them weather conditions, you are going to change the angle that you are observing the horizon at, because you can't see any further. But if you could see further, it would rise further. But because you can't see any further than it, it effectively obstructs your vision on the visibility that day, which you perceive to be the curvature of the Earth because the horizon appears to drop, but actually it's the consequence of a limitation of your visibility against your pitch and elevation.
Okay. Yeah. I see what you're saying.
Hello.
Yo.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry.
No, it's good. Carry on.
Yo. No. So would it change? Okay. So basically, the way I'd like to do any of these experiments, I like do them on different days.
Oh, sorry. Did you say experiment? You were very
Just things
careful
like
to say
that.
tests until now.
But then also,
if we've got an experiment, I'd love to know what the independent and dependent variable is. Excellent.
okay. Well, one of the independent variables would be the you'd have to check for the weather.
Sorry, is that,
Check for-
is that something you can
yeah.
vary as a researcher? You can vary the weather, can you,
Well,
Mr. Researcher?
The altitude would be then the main independent variable.
You just said weather.
And then you,
So is weather completely isolated in your test? You have hundreds of hundreds of meters to utilize with no weather, correct?
no, not at all.
Oh, right. So you haven't isolated your variables in this experiment then? What a crap experiment. Not very
well,
scientific.
no, that's the idea of that's the idea of doing it on multiple days.
Sorry,
Just
I've just explained that you don't have a scientifically valid hypothesis. It's not scientifically valid. It's nonsense.
No, like I said, that's not even the main variable. The main variable is altitude.
Hello, Richard. How you doing? Can you hear us?
I just thought I'd come on because you were talking about 50 debates, is it? I'm still not convinced.
Hang on, we need Richard Orbin to speak.
You say hello, Richard? Right,
Yo,
once more,
Richard.
you've popped yourself on mute.
Yeah.
There you go.
You're gonna have to go if he doesn't speak.
He made a noise. His child did.
No, that was Nathan.
Oh,
That was me asking him.
No, I think that was Eleanor.
Well, there was that too.
What was that, Dawn? 250 debates and you're not convinced?
yeah.
Really?
Keep watching, waiting, but it's not happening.
What watching, waiting for what? Evidence of curve or evidence of flat?
Evidence of the full flat Earth reality.
We're not trying to prove that it's flat. We're testing the hypothesis that we live in a sphere, and so far we haven't found anybody that's able to manipulate the independent variable of curve, Earth curve, or axial rotation, or
It's called
gravity.
flat Earth debate.
Yeah, we're waiting for the evidence. Do you know the distance to the sun, Dawn?
No, I know what Wiki says.
Do you agree that there's not a lot of evidence to support that it's 93 million miles, or do you think that it's there scientifically proven and everybody accepts it because it's so
I
black
think
and
the
white?
evidence is subjective.
That's honest. Good. At least we're getting some honesty now.
You know,
I
Dawn,
think
I'm
it's
the
far
same boat
away,
as you,
though.
mate.
I do
I'm in
believe it's
exactly
far
the same
away.
boat as you. Lots and lots of debates, and I'm absolutely, totally not convinced that it's a sphere in any way, shape, or form. Nothing has been presented
you don't
that
have to
convinces
be.
me of that.
Well, I agree with Nathan.
Just
so
live
that's
a
two.
happy life, not believing the sphere.
Dawn,
Sorry,
I agree
believing,
with,
did you say?
Nathan. That makes
Yeah,
two
we
of
don't
us. That makes
believe.
us a
We're not
scientific
believers here,
consensus,
Dawn.
right?
You're a believer. You're a believer. We're not believers. You can believe what you like.
So we can all go on with our lives then.
Oh, off you go.
Yeah.
You can't
What
keep
are you
away
doing
from
here?
Well, I believe there's a test we can do next month actually, and get the distance from the moon, and then from that get the distance to the sun.
Oh, really? How are you going to do that?
Well, we already have that done. Would you like a link?
Yeah. No, yeah, we
How
do.
are you going to do that?
It's basically they're old experiments, but we'd be able to
Experiment.
We'll be able to-
Excellent.
And what
get
are
it more
those?
precise.
What's the independent and dependent variable in this experiment?
Well, it's actually several experiments. The
Start with the
independent
first.
variable.
We'll start with the first one.
Okay, so let's
Oh Jesus!
first you'd have to get you'd have to discover the size of the Earth,
Sorry,
which you can do.
What?
I don't think you understood my question.
you'd have to- you'd have
If
to-
you say
you'd have to
experiment,
use the-
I'm going to ask you for your hypothesis because an experiment is an expression of a
No, I'm just
hypothesis.
describing them because there's like
Shut
two
up and
experiments
listen to what I'm
you do.
saying, you stupid, arrogant little twat. I'm going to ask you if you say the word experiment for an independent and a dependent variable because an experiment
well-
is an... Shut up and listen. Shut up. An experiment is an expression of a hypothesis. So, when you tell me you're doing an experiment, I first want to know what your experiment actually is. And that would be the hypothesis. So,
No,
a
observe a
hypothesis
phenomenon.
consists of an independent and dependent variable. Please let me know what they are.
You forgot
Okay,
the
fine, I
observe the
appreciate
phenomenon bit.
Or you could just call it a test and just
Yeah, I appreciate it. Yeah, I'll just call it a measurement.
not-
I'll just
try
just
to
measure-
get scientific about it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, so we're just gonna do a measurement. But we'll have to measure a few things first.
Sorry,
let me
what are
just-
you what are you
How are
babbling
you gonna
about?
do
I haven't
that?
heard an independent and dependent variable for this experiment.
Nah, he doesn't have any. He just admitted it.
They're not experiments; they're just measurements. We're
Well,
just gonna
then
do
they're
a simple
pointless.
measurement.
Hold on, are you backing the ball? The ball's backed by science, idiot. Why are you here
Yeah,
with
no,
just folly then? The ball is supposed to be backed by science. I don't want to hear about your measurements and your silly tests. Give me an experiment that's backed by science.
I'm interested.
That's what the ball is backed by. What the hell are you spending all this crappy money on science and flights to the bloody moon if it's not science? I don't want to hear about it if it's not science. I'm told continually that it's backed by science. The whole body of science, right? So don't come here unless you've got science. If you haven't got an experiment, go away and play with yourself and your tests
what type do you want
elsewhere.
again,
Don't
Nathan?
waste
'Cause
our
you-
time with it.
You seem a bit picky on the type of experiment. What would suit
Type
you?
of experiment, a hypothesis expression. That's what an experiment is. It's an expression of
Earth
your
is a
hypothesis.
sphere.
It
Is
is
that-
an
Would you be happy with that
it is a hypothesis test.
Can I just say, in his defence, he's reduced it back from an experiment down to an observation.
Well, then who
Come on,
cares? No one's
He
interested.
doesn't have science to back him,
But
Nathan.
you are
Come on.
interested. You're
No,
here
I'm
every
not
day.
interested if it's
So-
not science. You guys come on here and tell me you're backed by science, and then tell me that you've got an observation to present. Like I give a crap about your bloody observation. Get me some science.
We can all do science.
Go on then.
Well, I am kind of interested in his observation, and I'm especially interested in how he is proposing to measure the moon. I'm just very interested in how he is going to accomplish this. And then
Well-
I'll scrutinize your method,
Sure, that's no problem.
because that's what I like to do. It doesn't have to be scientific, but I will scrutinize your method to
No,
supposedly measure this. So please, could you elaborate?
Yeah, bear with me because it's early for me. I don't have it right in front of me, but it is it's quite simple. It's like 2,500-year-old measurements, which we can make more precise. But I'm a very simple man, so
Alright.
it's very cheap. It's not science whatsoever. It's just a poor man's measurement. And
Right. So how
so-
does it work?
so we could do like the stick measurement like Aristophanes had done, but instead of doing that, I'm going to skip that.
It's an heavily body angle deduction. So it's
Right,
a
well,
mathematical deduction. That's what you're going to do. That's not a measurement.
Well, no, we would use 3 of those sticks, and we would just confirm.
Yeah,
the
I've
size that-
heard that. It's been thousands of years old and it's amazing, but it's a deduction. It's not a measurement.
It
Yeah,
does
it's
count
in-
as a measurement to a
it's
lot of
in-
people.
No, it doesn't.
To a
it's
lot of
an-
It's
people.
not a
it does.
measurement. It's a deduction.
It's an inductive reasoning for a presupposition. That's what it is.
Right,
Exactly.
you need a bit of
They
proof
still
of
call
R
this
with
a
that
measurement.
value, yeah? You need
Most
proof
of
of
the
R.
world does.
Presupposing that it's a
measurements,
sphere would
but it's
mean
not
you need
based on
proof of
anything, it's
R.
relative.
Scientific evidence of R if you're going to presuppose it's got a radius.
I could probably give us R.
Give us it.
but
What
you'd
about
have to-
scientific evidence
Yeah, but
for
how
it?
did you get to it?
How did you get to it? Yeah, did you
Well,
just
it's-
come up with it out
it's
your
really
top of
not
your
that
head, did you?
complicated. If you did the like 0 latitude and just went all the way around in a full circle or whatever.
So we
you
have
would-
to
circle
presuppose
of
that
what?
it's a ball
Hold on,
go
Arwen.
all the way
Hold on.
around it.
Arwen.
That's how you discover R.
Owen, hold on a
Is that-
No, no.
second.
I just
Owen.
didn't know if you would let me finish.
Full
if you
circle
would let
of
me finish, I
what?
just-
A full circle of what?
at the equator, and then you would do another
What
circle.
would the and what shape would that equator be when you make the full circle of it?
The equator, just a circle.
A circle. What kind of circle? A flat circle?
Just a circle at the center of the Earth. At the we'd have to do the next measurement.
So it's a
first.
circle
So the
around a
next
sphere.
measurement-
So you're making this measurement whilst traveling around a sphere, correct?
Well, just traveling around 0 latitude. Like I said,
And
we're not
that
making any
0
assumptions.
latitude you assume is the equator on a sphere, correct?
Well, we're just assuming 0 latitude is 0 latitude. But we have to make the next measurement. The next measurement would be, I think you go from 0 to 180. I think it is longitude, I believe. Oh, we have to double check. Or it's 90 to 90. We'll do 90 to 90 north.
That
So you
is
go 90 to the
actually-
North Pole, and
that
then
is
90
interesting.
again.
I like it. I like it.
Right. And then we would try the same thing going 90 south.
Yeah. Yeah.
wherever that
Someone
leads
should
you to.
definitely do that.
Yeah, and then 90 the other south. So, but anyways, we'd use this size, and then you can extrapolate from that this would be both of those would be circumferences, and you can average those out, and then you can take those circumferences, and you'd be able to get an R with that.
Yeah, if it actually
It's something you
works
could try,
out.
Nathan.
Hey,
Nathan,
hey,
if
hey,
you're up for it.
if that actually pans out, because hey, actually going by all those latitudes, especially in the south, yeah, the results there might not be very ballish. Let's
So
just
when
say
you're
it
doing
like
those
that.
journeys, you are travelling on a sphere to begin with, though, and then you're calculating what the radius value is on that sphere as you make those journeys, correct?
Well, no, I mean, because honestly, I'm not sure where those would lead.
So,
So
okay,
I go and I
explain to me,
take
if you're
a
travelling
trip
across a
through.
flat plane, how are you getting any sort of R measurement? If all those journeys are across a flat landscape, how does it give you an R then?
Well, I would have to either choose or I have to decide on several possibilities. So one possibility is it could be a three-dimensional geometric shape, or it could be
Right, so when you decide that it's a three-dimensional geometric shape, at that point you decide that you are travelling on a sphere when you get your R value, correct?
No, he was gonna say or a flat plane.
Yeah, but he's
I
trying to
would
get an
have
R
I would have
value.
to settle
We've
with
already
that if
established that you don't get R values when you travel across a flat plane. So at some point, to get an R value, he has to presuppose he's on a sphere, correct?
That depends on
Why are
the
you
results
answering
of all
for
the
him, Arwin?
measurements.
Every time it's starting to get on my nerves. I ask someone a question, I hear you.
Yeah,
I don't know if you're
but
asking
he's
me.
Yeah, and there you
actually
go again,
trying to-
Arwin.
This guy is
I'm asking
really
him a
trying to be
question.
neutral
Does he
here.
travel on a
I
sphere
don't
to
see
get this
why
R
you're grilling
value,
him.
and
He's
you're
being
answering me?
very nice.
Hey, leave Arwin alone.
Well,
You
he's
don't see
answering
why
for
he's
this
grilling
guy.
him, Owen.
Yeah, I do see, and it's unnecessary. This is not some idiot baller being religious. He's honestly just saying, like, yeah, I want to measure it and figure it out and see if it is flat or a ball, and
Yes,
that's
and you
really
would
what
have
I'm
the
hearing
Really,
here. So I
Alwyn,
don't
I've
see
just
why you're
pointed this
grilling
out.
him
At
like
some point, he has to get an R value, which means he has to be travelling around a ball in order to get that value. But he won't admit it because you've hijacked my point. But thank you very much.
Now he wants to get it, but he's not expecting to get it yet. He's actually being open about it. So he might be a believer in the ball, but he does admit that he doesn't have any.
How the hell
proof
do
that
you
he
know? Are you
wants to collect
psychic,
it.
Arwyn? How do you know what he knows? This is
Because
preposterous.
that's what he's saying.
This is preposterous. You don't
No,
know
that's
what he
he's
knows.
saying. I've been having
Why are you still
conversations
answering
with him,
for him?
even in the back chat, and he's really open-minded about this.
Really?
He's
Open-minded enough to
pretending
know
to
that
be,
when he
so-
travels around a ball to get his R value, but he won't admit to that bit yet.
Well,
Isn't that the hypothesis you want, Nathan? Someone to hypothesize before they
No,
do the
I'm saying that
experiment.
if you're going to get an
Don't
R
bring in
value at some
hypothesis,
point...
don't.
Oh, Arwyn's talking. You take over, Arwyn. My bad.
Hey, Arwin.
Just don't bring in hypothesis, Don. You don't know anything about that stuff.
Isn't that Nathan's first step?
It's only when you apply the scientific method. Jay here just wants to measure things, and you're bringing in the scientific method again.
No, I'm not.
Which
I'm
is
asking
really
him
stupid.
at any stage if he's on a ball when he extrapolates out this R value. That's not asking him if he's formulating a hypothesis, Arwyn. But thanks again.
No, he's talking to me, Nathan.
Yeah. Well,
So, when you extract this R value, are you already travelling around the edge of a sphere or not?
okay, I'll just explain it again. I didn't know if I wasn't clear. I wasn't going to decide or to figure out if I was on a sphere or not until after these measurements were made after the equator, which we could assume because it's 0 latitude is a circle, and the ones that are up for debate are the longitudinal lines. And so if we found that those were also in the center but the perpendicular direction and it also created a circumference, then at that point, maybe with a few more measurements, we would decide it was a sphere, but not before that. We would be ready for the fact that it was a sphere or if it was flat, but it would be based on both those measurements.
Sorry, which
but
measurements
how are you
getting?
actually deciding
it's
that
Arwyn's
the
again, my
equator
bad.
line is a circle?
Well, basically, the equator line?
Yeah. How do you know it is a circle? How do you know
yeah,
it's
well,
not
I
a
mean, the
straight
path-
line?
Yeah, the path of the so if you I've been studying this actually for a little bit, but if you look
Straight line.
Yeah,
yeah,
a
it's not
straight
it wouldn't be a
line.
straight line.
Oh, when you come back to where you were.
Remember, rectangular looping is still an option here. Yeah,
maybe
there's no exclusion yet.
I haven't heard any other flat earthers say that's an option, to be honest.
Well, you haven't really been listening.
I'd like
because
you
there
to
are a
do
lot of
Nathan's
people out there
scientific
that
method
still
to prove it as
entertain
well.
this
That'd be cool.
this system. So
I'll give you a GoPro if you're willing to go through the portal and come back the other side.
yeah, the portal is the space we are in. It's just part of the design if it is actually like that. So that's a whole nother
Oh,
discussion. So
Oh, it's
just
totally
saying, it's
totally
no,
nothing.
there
Not
is no proof even that the equator is either circle around the ball. There's no proof that it's a circle over a disk. It could be a straight line. All these deductions that it is a circle are based, basically, when it comes down to it,
I
on
guess it
the
basically is a
angular
straight line.
relations with the heavenly bodies.
From a human's perspective, following it, I guess it basically is a straight line.
Has it been measured to be a circle?
Well,
I
that
agree,
was
that's quite
Are
hard
you moving?
and
like,
futile.
Are you turning as you move over this circle? Are you going over the curve
I was going to
of the circle of the equator? I don't think so. There
was
is no
gonna-
curvature. We've disproven this. So I don't think, I pretty much think you're going in a straight line. So either if you rotate as you move over the equator on the, what is it? The y-axis, then yeah, the Earth may be a disk.
I'm
And
sure you can
I
do
want to
measurements.
find out if that's the case. But yeah, what if you just go on in a straight line, in a perfectly straight line, dead ahead, and you end up where you started? Well,
Well,
then it's not a disc and it's not a ball. So still have to find that out.
well, I was gonna say, I don't know.
You sound like LSC a bit, Owen, there.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say is about the equator is it's actually got an odd property to it, which I've been studying, like the times around the world during the different times of the year, and actually on the equator, the times as far as I've been, so as far as I've seen, they don't change throughout the year, so it's a constant 12 on, 12 off of daylight,
Okay.
and so not just from this, but this is evidence that we can conclude that this is basically the center point of where the sun, however the sun is reaching us, it's going over this area equally
That's why
throughout
they
the
call
year.
it the equator,
Right, right.
because the seasons are pretty much steady there. But yeah, the times don't actually change. It's humans and that reset their clocks, really. Time doesn't really change. It's just the way that humans reset their clocks. And apparently that they don't do that there. So
Fair enough. So the other two ways that we could check to make sure it was a 360-degree circle is also, again, check the lines of longitude, and you could just mark them off. You check to make sure that 1 is next to 2 and 2 is next to 3. Go up to 180, and then again on the way back, just make sure these are next to each other at the 69 miles, I believe, difference. So and if enough measurements were made doing this, you would be able to conclude it was a circle. But yeah, I couldn't.
Circle. You keep
I
saying
guess I couldn't
circle.
assume right
Aren't you
away
trying
it
to prove
was.
it's a sphere?
I'm pretty sure he said circle.
Yeah, I know. But aren't you here trying to prove it's a sphere?
No.
So what's the
No.
point in this conversation? So you're concluding that it's flat and you can travel in circles?
No, we're trying
on
to
it?
find out if it's flat or if it's a sphere.
So yeah, but I've just
Or
asked,
something
what's the
else.
point of this?
He's trying to do it your way, Nathan.
Well, yeah, but there's no point.
Trying to measure it, I applaud this. I want to do this myself.
Yeah, but measure
actually,
what?
so-
What are we trying to establish? Whether it's flat or a sphere? And so far we're travelling in circles, measuring circles. Well, what does that prove? That we're flat and it's got circles you can travel in. Wowee.
Well, it depends on the span of the circle. How it works out. If you're going in a corner as you're moving past the equator, and if you go south, does the circle get larger or does it get smaller, as would be essential on the ball, as it were? So there's all
no,
kinds
that's-
of
so you don't get that
traveling
happening on a
measurements
dartboard.
that can
So-
be done to figure out the shape of the Earth.
You
It's
can have
very
that on a
interesting.
dartboard. A dartboard has circles that get bigger
Yeah.
as you go outwards. So
Indeed.
how does this prove a sphere?
Well,
It's the start for
it
his
doesn't
other-
prove it
other
at first, but
experiment.
it could
Right,
suggest
that's
it.
my
But
point,
as I
Arwin.
said, as you
Again,
go to
Arwin,
the
thank you. It
southern
doesn't prove it.
hemisphere-
That's my point.
No,
Thank
no,
you.
but there are signs that can give out readings. Like if you go to the southern part of the equator and the circles or the straight lines as you move over that specific latitude seem to go bigger. So the distance that you actually have to travel to move over this latitude line gets bigger, then indeed we may be dealing with a flat Earth disk.
Yeah,
but if
that's
they
my
get
point.
smaller,
I
then
agree.
something
That
else
was
is
my
going
point.
on.
That was exactly what I just said. We can do this on a flat disk. At what point does this help us determine if it's spherical, which is what this guy's here arguing, that the Earth is a sphere? So if it doesn't prove anything,
It would still
why
be
are we
a
having the
deduction.
conversation? I don't get it. We can travel
It
in
would still be a
circles. Great.
deduction. It doesn't actually prove it. That is the toughest part.
We're in agreement, Arwin. It doesn't prove anything. So I don't really
Indeed.
understand why we've just gone through that.
Well, it could prove just the layout of the...
Oh, what's going on? Who's muting?
I think Ranty's got pissed off and he's muted Arwen in rebellion.
Yeah, let's have Ranty have a go. Nathan, I want you to
What?
have a go at Ranty about some of his observations and how he doesn't do it right, just like you do us.
Doesn't do it right. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I'll take on the role of Nathan for this application. Ranty, you're a good guy. Let's have a look at your brilliant flat Earth proof.
You want to play the good guy? Who's going to play the bad guy?
No, I'm just playing the role of Nathan because Dawn's saying that Nathan's double-faced, two-faced, and he's saying that he's not as harsh with you as he is for the ballers.
Well, they haven't got any proof. Where's their proof? They haven't brought anything to the table. What have they videoed? Are you going to rely on Soundly and all it's showing is refraction?
Do you want me to get solar eclipse photos or Mount Magoo?
Get us a lunar eclipse and show us that lovely Earth curve on it.
To be honest, Tim has done a lot of
I just
great
get this
field
blob
work
of
for
redness
us.
that looks like someone's just bled all over the floor.
Shows an image of
What's
the
your issue?
backside of the
Sorry,
moon.
you've hijacked that. So what's your issue, Dawn? That I don't hold Ranty to the
Yeah,
same
it's
standards.
not my issue. I just saw someone write it in the chat. It said, "Is Nathan going to hold Ranty's toes to the fire the same way that he is Jay?"
Well,
sorry,
you're
let's just
saying
get
it,
something
right?
clear,
It
Dawn.
came from your audience. I just read it out.
Yeah,
Fair
but
enough.
you're the
Well,
one saying it.
For the
I
audience's
kind of
sake
agree,
and Dawn's, if Anthony will let me answer. So, yeah, the standard is very different for you. You have the whole body of science behind your assertion, Dawn. The Earth being a sphere, it's on every TV station, every single science book, every teacher teaches this. It is your standard. The
So you're
whole
saying
body.
Globus have to.
I'm not
follow
allowed
the
to finish.
scientific
Sorry,
method.
Dawn.
Okay, sorry.
You go.
Carry
You
on.
go. My bad. Didn't mean to interrupt you.
Well, sometimes you go for a long time. Carry on.
Oh, thanks, Dawn. Yeah, so this is your standard. The whole body of science is behind your assertion, apparently. So when we get observation-based crap from you, who is supposed to have the whole body of science behind your assertion, I get pretty tetchy and say, "What's this garbage? This isn't very sciencey.
Yeah, but this
Where's
is
the
how
whole?
I feel.
Where's the whole body of science? Where's your scientific evidence?" When
This is
Ranty
how I
presents
feel
it,
when you show
when
Ranty's
Ranty
evidence.
presents it on his own dime, travelling with his own fuel money, back and forth, with a camera he's bought with his own pennies, taxed, I don't hasten to add. Yeah? So he's been taxed for his money. That tax has gone to science.
What does this have to do with the
Shut
double
up!
standards?
Shut your mouth! So he has spent his hard-earned cash that he's had to earn doing something totally different, totally separate from flat Earth. Yeah? Something, the antithesis of what science asserts. So you guys can go to a science textbook or a science teacher or the government-paid science institutions to get your evidence. Ranty pays for it with his own fuel money and has bought the camera with his own taxed money. So screw you with your standards. No, I won't hold his toes to the fire. I will commend him for challenging the great body of science that asserts something that is nonsense and has bloody observation crap from Soundly to back it up. Garbage, in other words.
Thanks for explaining.
Jolly good. I hope you understood.
I mean, I could play that role and say what's the independent and dependent variable, but I'm not that into science, so I think it's fine just to
For
show
what?
evidence as observations
Independent
for either
variable
model.
for what? For what? What are you asking me for an independent variable for?
I'm not. I'm saying I could play your role against Ranty and say all those questions.
Ranty's not performing experiments, he's doing observations. So we're at the same level of
You
standard
just said
that...
just now you don't like observations.
From you! You muppet!
No,
From
you're
the
admitting
people who
someone-
assert that the whole body of science is behind an assertion that the Earth is a sphere. That's
Yes.
your side of this
But
argument.
your argument, you guys can challenge science with no
Yes.
science at all, just
Yes.
observations.
Yes, that's our privilege.
Nice, man.
Yes,
nice.
we get to do that. That's our privilege.
Yeah, I have the privilege of challenging flat Earth with just observations.
Yeah,
and
you can.
memes
You're here doing it now.
and one-liners.
Yeah, and if
Like,
you ask for an independent
Shall we talk
variable,
about the
I'll
simulation
point out.
sky you need
I'll
to make
point
flat Earth
out that
work?
we're not backed by science. You are alleged to be backed
talk
by the
about
whole body of
whole
science.
sky
And when I
moves
point this
and
out, you
things
can't
are
keep
still
your
out.
mouth shut. You're still talking. So, Dawn, just to give you clarity, you claim to be backed by science. So when you come with a standard of evidence that's observational, I get annoyed. When Ranty presents observational-based proofs, I will take them seriously on account of the fact he's not backed by science. Quite the opposite.
Yeah. Have some of that.
That's silly.
Really? Well, you get
Well,
us all the
where is
government
it?
funding then. Get us
You're
all the
trying to
government
defeat
funding.
science
Get us
with
52
one
million a
man's
day or whatever they get at
observations.
NASA. And let's see how we do with that sort of funding to back up our assertions. Because your assertions are backed with kids' demonstrations, pre-recorded, live recordings that are done on high
And
wire.
pictures from space, Nathan.
Yeah,
Remember?
high wire acts. You ever worked with a trapeze, Dawn? Because I
The
have.
fact it goes
You ever worked
dark
with a
every
trapeze,
night,
Dawn?
remember that one as
Dawn,
well?
do you know what a trapeze is?
Yes.
Have you used one?
No.
I have. So when I
Okay,
see a
yeah,
trapeze,
that
I
doesn't
know what
surprise
one
me.
is. And it absolutely is trapeze, and you think they're flying because you're a moron.
What?
Yeah, you think the ISS has got men flying around in it, then you're an idiot who doesn't recognise trapeze.
So what do you think the ISS is then? I'll give you that there's no people on it.
What do you mean? The thing in the sky is just a light. I've no idea what it is. It's a light that traverses
Just
past
light
us like the
that we've
stars
managed
do.
to track in weird patterns across the top of your
Yeah, the thing that they show you on TV, that's
17,000 miles
trapeze.
an hour, and if
That's wire work.
if you theorize it's closer, then it's going even faster. I think.
The light.
Just a light.
Yeah, I don't know how far away that
Nice
light
one,
is. Are
nice
you
one,
going to
man.
assert that you know how far away it is?
The ISS is another luminary.
Do you know how far
just
it
another
is?
luminary.
How
Taken
far
over
is
in
it?
2018.
We're here trying to establish the distance to the sun. Are you now going to claim you know the distance to the ISS?
No, I don't know these distances. I can
Right.
read it off the internet.
Neither do I.
If it helps, Dawn, I accept that the ISS is somewhat physical,
Right.
but I agree that there's no people on it.
Dawn, are
Respect,
you
for,
doing
respect for that. I'll give you there's no people on it. So
Right,
something
Dawn.
physical. Did people put it there?
Dawn, are you doing independent research of your own then, or are you just taking stuff off the internet and believing it?
For what?
Anything, the shape of the Earth, distance to the ISS. Are you actually doing any research of your own?
I don't do deep research on these things. No, I look it up and decide, like, can I be bothered to study this and see if they're correct or not, and see if I get more of a belief and understanding, or am I just happy with believing that's probably right?
So that's what
Or
that's
do
your
I want to
position.
reject it totally and be different from other people?
Well, that's your position. Your position is you would just rather accept it.
I'd just rather is not really the words I'd use, but happy to believe they're right.
Dawn, do you accept that the moon's quite cold? Wherever the moon is, it's quite cold.
No.
Really?
I
That's a
accept.
new one. Why do you not think
Except
it's
most of
cold?
the time when you see the moon, it's night, so the sun's the other side of Earth, and that's
Yeah, we're warm or
colder.
cold, but the moon itself is in a state of relative coldness because it's in deep space, isn't it? It's not in our atmosphere, so it's got no atmosphere of its own. It should be at absolute zero, right?
Oh, you're talking about being on the moon?
The moon sits in a state of absolute zero, correct?
I don't know, mate. What do you mean zero?
Right. Can you see my screen, Nathan? Are you sharing?
Dawn, I thought you would more. I thought you were going to bring more to the table than this, mate.
Who?
We might as well debate Wikipedia.
I
Dawn.
just come on here to have a conversation with you guys.
Dawn, what if? Can you see my screen?
Jay proposed an experiment for finding out the shape of the Earth, and Nathan didn't like it.
It
So
wasn't an
we've gone to this.
experiment. It didn't have any sort of hypothesis attached, which is what an experiment is. It's the expression of a hypothesis.
So-
It's
so
a
you do one
hypothesis
then?
test. So he didn't have that.
If you're the expert and you're really picky on these things, you do one. Write it
I'm
all
not
down.
the expert, and I'm not backed by science. You are supposed to be backed by science. So when you come with observational crap, I will say, why is this not science, which is what you claim to be backed by?
Nathan, am I sharing?
You are.
I'm seeing the little things hovering.
Right, so these are like, this is called, I call it cryomagnetism. It's, what's it called? Something, I can't remember what it's called.
You have a different name for it than what it's actually
levitation.
Quantum levitation, that's the word. And what this is showing is that in very, very cold environments, which we understand or are told that space is, we can arguably create two disks that float over a solid flat surface. And you could argue that these are the sun and the moon. So
superconductivity.
Yeah. So if it is cold up there, and there is two
argue
disks
that's
up
the
there,
sun and the moon.
and notice how the disks aren't perfectly flat, they look like a cookie kind of thing, then it makes sense that this could be an explanation for a flat disk-like object called the sun and a flat disk-like object called the moon. And notice how they don't have to be on
Why
top of
don't
it.
the people at the edge see an elliptical sun and moon then?
Because of the shape of it. It could be half dome shaped. But the point I'm making
But it's
is
flat
that,
to the ground. If you're on the other side, you'd see an ellipse.
yeah, but the point I'm making is that we can make a similar looking moon, similar looking sun on a flat plane.
No, you
Relying
can't.
on-
That's
You can't
Relying on very
explain,
cold.
you can't
Supposing that
explain why
they are
people never see
physical,
the
right?
backside of it.
Because you're not seeing the backside of it, you're seeing the front side of it.
Yeah,
and
but you
see-
should on a flat Earth if it's going round on top, should you?
It depends on how our eyes work.
That's what he's explaining to
Well,
you, saying that
it
if
means
it's one of
it's
these
an individual
discs,
moon for everyone.
then you
Back
only
to
see
the
one side
simulation
of it,
sky
Dawn.
that I
That's
keep
what he's trying to
saying.
explain to
It's
you.
still presupposing that they are physical, and there's
Right,
all
so
kinds
you
of
have to
science
be
that they're not. So
Owen to deny it, or show videos like this, like Riley does.
Yeah, but all I'm saying is that whatever the sun and the moon is, it can be replicated on a flat plane, as you can see on screen right now. There are two.
not really. It has
This
similar
is not a
patterns, but
replication
it's still
of the sun.
presupposing that it's physical. Just saying.
Thanks for just saying.
Yeah, you know how I have to oppose you.
Well,
Contractually obligated.
Do you guys really want to debunk the globe Earth?
it
have-
is
No.
debunked, dude.
It
It's
is
got no
debunked.
evidence to support it.
In
Ipso
your
facto,
mind, at your position where you're
Not
at
in our
now,
mind.
but the rest
Not
of the
in our
world
mind.
thinks there's plenty.
Okay, Dawn, do you have scientific evidence for the R value?
No.
Right. There you go.
Someone
Globe
told me-
debunked.
Someone told me you can measure it with a
Globe
sextant on a
debunked.
ship.
End of story.
Some bloke told me that we lived on a sphere because he put two sticks in the ground and everybody started accepting it.
Right. So you accept two sticks in the ground proves it, do you, Dawn?
Well, I see the whole sky moving. I think it's more likely we're
Right, that's
Oh.
called
rotating sphere.
inductive
That's a key
reasoning.
word, isn't it? You see the sky moving.
Inductive reasoning.
which
But your
tells
model,
me
it's not the
it's
sky
more
moving.
likely I'm on a rotating sphere because I don't know of a god power that can turn the whole sky.
Right,
That's a
you've
bit
just
much
danced
for me to
around
believe.
this. You've said it's
Because
not
you don't
debunked.
understand how
Hold
the
on.
sky-
So
what
we're
it
going to
really
dance
is.
past this, Dawn. Your embarrassing little truth that you just accept a belief in this value. You've just going to dance around that. You've
I
said
don't
it's not
care about
debunked.
R.
Within
I
two
don't.
breaths, we've debunked it, and now you're just dancing around it saying, well,
You're
I
the
just
one
see the
that's
sky
obsessed
moving and
with R,
accept
man.
it. So you're going to accept that you've got a religious belief now, or you're just going to dance past it like you just did?
It was a religious belief, but Flat Earth purged the religion out of me. Now I
Right.
just,
There's
You got
no
that right.
now I
science
just
behind
trust,
it,
now I
Dawn.
just trust people.
You are just trusting people when they tell you they have assumed a value of R. So you just trust them, Dawn.
No, R's not a big deal, really.
Not a big deal. It's the
No.
radius of
Oh,
Earth.
the
It's the basis of
basis
every equation. When you say that the spacemen are going up, well, how do you think they plan the trajectories? Do you think they just pluck a value out their ass? No, they use the value of
It's
R.
not a big deal on proving
Is that not
to
a big
yourself
deal?
that you
You
live
think
on
the
a spinning
spacemen
sphere.
are happily going out into a space around a spherical Earth using an assumed radius? You think that's actually happening? You're a moron.
It's not assumed at this point.
It is.
It's not. It's an
Oh my
assumption
God.
that the measurements were
So
correct.
when we ask Mick West, where'd you get the value? And he tells us he assumes it, right? You think
Yeah.
he wouldn't have just plucked out some science if he could have done?
He
You think he
said the
deliberately
calculator
humiliated
assumes it.
himself? Is that what you think he
That's not
deliberately
what he said.
humiliated
Calculator
himself?
assumes
He did
that
have
R-
science, but he decided just not to present it while you talk all over me, right? Just like they do when there's a very damning point coming up. You said it's not debunked. We've pointed out you don't have any evidence for the value of R, something your entire world is based on. Yeah, and you've
The whole
danced
world's
around
not
it,
based
and now
on
I've
R.
pointed out, while you talk all over me, that the guy who provides you with the actual calculations you've provided us with in every debate is based on an assumption. He wouldn't say it's based on an assumption if he actually had scientific evidence. He would present it. He didn't, because it is an assumed value, Dawn. Your religious faith is based on an assumption. That's a fact.
No. They measured it, Nathan.
Oh, really? Well, how did they measure it, Dawn?
They deduced it on a
Arwin,
calculation.
I've just said Dawn's name. Just let it be silent.
I'm not going to answer that, Nathan. I'm
It's
not
because
an
you don't have
expert
an
on how
answer,
they measured
dickhead.
art.
You don't. What do you mean you're not going to? You
call
don't
it
have one.
production, like
If you were
Owen said.
smart like Charles, you'd give a conditional acceptance. He's a weasel, right? So Charles said, I'll give you scientific evidence when you prove there's men guarding the Antarctic. That's
Even
because he's
Owen's not
slightly
saying it's
smarter
dumb.
about being a weasel. You just saying I won't answer it means nothing. We're not asking because we think you have an answer. We're asking so we can prove with your silence, if Arwin could keep his mouth shut long enough, that you don't have a value of R to prove. It's
Oh my
just an
gosh.
assumption.
By the way, I think if you use more than 2 sticks, you don't have the same problem as
Yeah, but it creates another
Still
problem.
not gonna prove anything, Jay.
It creates another problem if you use a third stick.
What's that problem?
That it proves that the sun's not trillions of miles away.
Just send a balloon up, guys, if you're this into it, man.
We've sent loads of balloons
What?
up, man.
Nearly
and
at
found no
300.
Perth.
You nearly
For
get
what?
300 shows. Just send a
What will
balloon
that
up.
do, Dawn? What will that prove? Should we be using the apparent horizon when we do it, like this other dude suggested? What for?
Oh, if you're going to be like that, don't bother then.
But what for? You tell us what for.
Just
What's it going to serve? What
sink
purpose
into-
does it serve?
Your new reality.
And if we did send a balloon up, what
Hey,
difference
Alan.
would it make? Would you suddenly become...
You can choose the lens. You can choose how high it goes. You can choose where.
Right.
You can
But
see
what
if
would
it
it prove?
curves or not.
What would it prove?
You can see if it curves or not. Then you
But
can
we know
keep it
from
a secret,
previous
like
balloon
Jonism
experiments
did
it
as
doesn't
well,
do it.
if you wanted.
But we know from previous balloon experiments that there doesn't seem to be any curve at
you
120,000 feet.
There's many more with curve on than there is without curve.
Yeah, and we all know why, don't we?
Fisheye lenses.
Well done, Arwin.
There's enough.
There's enough
enough
fisheye
what?
lenses to go around.
There's enough what, Dawn?
There's enough balloon footage with curve without fisheye lenses.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
John, soundly banana cam stuff.
when you look back at all the balloon footage with curve on it, they've all got one thing in
There's no
common.
such thing as a banana cam. That's a made-up thing for flat Earth.
Yeah, but Soundly's got a banana cam. No other P900 acts like that.
That's not true.
It is. Nobody else is getting curvature like Soundly gets.
Refraction.
Just in the
sound.
same way that nobody else got Earthshine on the Eclipse. He was the only one that got it. So he's the only one that gets curve. He's the only one that gets Earthshine. And bear in mind, like everybody was told in the Sun and Moon group to make sure that if you get pictures of the sun at the eclipse time, send it in to us so we can have a look at it. And there were hundreds sent in to us.
It just
and
feels
not-
like you guys are sure now. Why don't you just go on with your life with this new reality that you're happy
Because there are people like you, Dawn, that pass lies around the internet, believe
Well,
and make other
on the
people
same point,
stuff that's not true.
if you say that we're like this, why are you still in the debate then? Why are you still joining the panel?
Well, to try and reason with you guys.
Reason what?
You're not doing a
You're
very good
asking
job
people-
now, are you?
You're asking the Globers to come on every day and explain their model, so you can laugh at it and say, "Oh, you can't explain it."
We had to sharpen our tools to counter your arguments in the beginning. Now you have our arguments and you won't come in.
What?
And blame Nathan for being horrible
What
as
do you mean what?
Yeah,
I'm
blame
here.
me.
Yeah. The first 100 shows or so, you guys had the body of evidence. It took us that long to actually come to some kind of answers and have these answers ready to go. Now that we're winning, you guys don't
You're
want to come
not
in.
winning, man.
Prove
Yeah,
it.
dude, we
Thinking.
are.
Yeah, we are.
Thinking.
Dawn, you can't prove the distance to the sun.
I don't
think-
need to. I don't need to.
It kind of helps your argument if you can at least prove that
I
one.
can go
rudimental-
outside and I can get the rays on my skin and feel good. I don't need to prove the distance to the sun.
Okay,
why
but
you
then
here?
you're basing all of these things that you believe in on assumption and on belief.
Hey, P. How you doing?
Yeah, I
fake
think we
pee.
can make the
Like
measurements.
you guys.
Yeah, we can make measurements, but when you said that before, I put you a link in the side chat in the the green chat. Have you seen the link that I put in?
No, I see a few.
Right up at the top.
It must be at the top. Let me see. Well, I never got to finish.
I'll post it again now so that you can see it. If you just click it and then it's...
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a massive thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you hated the show, then I know exactly what to do. But if you like this show, then maybe share it with a friend and consider subscribing if you've not done so already. I've been Nathan Oakley, and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!